hard labor, some of you sitting and typing, your fingers doing all the hard work, or your brain doing all the hard work. But we are just honored that you made the time to be here tonight. Obviously, clearly, you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you decided to be here. Even those of you who are tuning in on the YouTube channel or Facebook, we are glad that you're tuning in to learn today. You're in for a great treat today because there's a couple, friends of mine, I've known them for many years, and they're a very successful couple that I respect and trust and honor. And I can't wait for you to learn so much from them today. But before we get started, just want you to, like we've been doing on every class, right? You just do some affirmations and you get the blood going and you get the mindset in the right place, right?
Right.
Are you with me?
Yes.
Come on.
That's right.
There you go. See, she gets a giveaway tonight.
Yes.
'Cause I like that energy, right? So I want you to just simply make this statement. I am blessed.
I am blessed.
I am loved.
I am loved.
I am valuable.
I am valuable.
I am unique.
I am unique.
I am victorious.
I am victorious.
I am more than a conqueror.
I am more than a conqueror.
I'm blessed going out.
I'm blessed going out.
I'm blessed coming in.
I'm blessed coming in.
All things are working together for my good.
All things are working together for my good.
My life gets better and better.
My life gets better and better.
My path gets brighter and brighter.
My path gets brighter and brighter.
So put on your sunglasses and give yourself a hand clap. Come on. You all can have a seat. Thank you again for being here tonight. As you know, last week we had to cancel the class due to weather, right? So there was some hailing storm actually. I don't know if you were around here, but it was crazy. So I'm glad you guys didn't show. 'Cause then everybody would have run out there to move your cars. So I'm glad that one got canceled, just for your safety, obviously. But we resumed today, and today we're going to be talking about how to live debt free. And next week, Monday, I'm going to be teaching you how to invest in crypto, real estate, and stocks, and how to beat inflation. So don't miss next week. I'm talking to the children's pastors here at Calvary, and they're going to let me know if they're going to have child care ministry or not. But either way, my idea is if you have your children, just bring them, and we'll just put them back there with the phone or something, or make them color, and and we'll do our thing here on this side. So I'm glad there's children, they're the future, and there's no shame in that. So it's great. If you want to learn next week and you have children, just make your way, and we'll have fun together. So without further delay, I want to ask my friends Derek and Tanisha to come over here. Give them a hand clap. Come on. And I'm going to turn it over to you guys. So thank you for blessing us today with this teaching.
All right, thank you.
All right. So I'm Derek Lane. This is my wife.
Tanisha Lane.
Yes.
Such a pleasure to be here tonight, guys. We are so excited. I'm going to just go ahead and talk about our story. First of all, we've got two beautiful children, and I say that with affirmation because I do love them, but there are days where, there are days. But all that to say, they are such blessings. We've got a 2-year-old and an almost 8-year-old daughter, 2-year-old son. And my husband and I are both corporate Americans, if I can say that. We've been working in corporate America for nearly 2 decades, and it's been a pleasure being able to learn and glean from those experiences. But I want to talk a little bit about our story and our testimony to kind of play into this why it's so important to live debt-free. Probably around 7 years ago, my husband and I had over $500,000 in debt. Over $500,000 in debt. And what's worse about that is we didn't realize that we had a problem. We thought we were living the American dream, that it was essentially normal to have debt. It was just another bill, and this is what people do. And from the outside looking in, we were living a good lifestyle. We had great jobs, we had income coming in. We didn't realize it was a problem. But while we had the income coming in, it was like pouring water into a bucket with holes. As fast as it was coming in, guess what? It was going out. We had this debt problem, not realizing it was a problem, not really understanding what our debt exposure was. And so we didn't have a plan for the debt, which made it even worse. But it wasn't until we came to Calvary, we relocated, we were actually living in Chicago at that time, but it wasn't until we came to Calvary, we got plugged into the MoneyWise group and started taking financial classes just like you guys are doing right now, that we really realized that, oh my God, we actually do have a problem here. And from there, we started incorporating the lessons into our lifestyle and started making changes. And what it was number one, realizing that we had a problem. Number two, a mindset change. And then number three, we started to take action. And some of the things that we did was, number one, basically started living below our means. We started living on one income. And for you, it may look different. It may look like you living in with a relative, you renting out a room, you picking up a second job. There are so many different ways to actually do that. But the idea is to try to scale back. So if you're going to Starbucks a few times a week, you may want to rethink that. If you're eating out several days a week, you may want to rethink that. Those are just some different things that we were able to do to kind of scale back to start attacking our debt. And then some of the methods that I'm going to cover tonight, one of them is my most favorite, which I'll dig into, and my husband's going to share some thoughts as well. But that method is essentially what took us to the next level. Once we got our debt paid off, we were able to be more in control of it. And essentially, we were able to pay down that $200,000, $500,000 debt down by 80% within 12 to 24 months. So amazing, amazing, amazing. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my husband to kind of help us kick off the lesson for tonight. But just keep in mind, it starts with realizing your problem, that you have a debt problem. Right? And sometimes it's important to document it so that you understand what your debt exposure is, and we'll talk again a little bit more about that. But then shifting your mindset, because if you realize that you have a problem and you don't change your mind about the problem that you have and start doing something different than what you've already been doing, then guess what? You'll never change. And then once you shift your mindset, debt will become like it was to us. It became like, I don't know, we just started having visceral reactions. I don't know, it was like an allergic reaction. Every time creditors tried to give us credit, you know, hey, open up this credit card. No way. And we didn't close out credit cards when we paid them off. We just left them there. It's better to just have no balances and leave them open than to close them out. And I don't know, Pastor, if you're going to go into that with the credit lesson, but just know that it's better to leave them open. And so we now stand here before you with debt, but with a plan to further get out of debt. Because since then, we postponed buying a house, and now we have a new home, and you know we've got a plan of paying that off sooner than the time frame that we mortgaged it for. So it's all about recognizing it and getting a plan in place for it. So wishing you guys the same.
Okay. All right, everybody. My wife talked about shifting mindset. So everybody, we're going to shift our mindset, but let's start with our bodies. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Let's shift our mindset, but we're starting off with our body. It's been a long day today, but before I go any further, I need to first do something. I need to recognize someone in the room who is one of the most, I would say, creative, hard-working persons in the world, I want to say. And it's his birthday today, but he went ahead and is still here at Calvary Church doing this thing for us. Please give it up for Kay Daly on the camera. Everybody say happy birthday, Kay.
Happy birthday, Kay.
And leave him $20 on the way out. All right. He agreed. All right. So we're going to do something that is called the countdown. The countdown is where you just get all of your limbs in your body limber, loose, relaxed, ready to go. And that is going to help change our mindset from our bodies inside out. Okay? Everybody with me? The countdown goes like this. You have your right hand up in the air. Everybody raise your right hand. And you are counting down while counting up. So we're going to start off with 10 counts per limb. It goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then left arm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right leg, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I go 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. 8. Everybody get it? Yeah. But the kicker is, when I say louder, you get louder. When I say faster, you get faster. Okay? Everybody with me?
Yeah.
You not, but you will be. You will be. All right. Everybody, right hand up in the air. Ready, go. Say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Louder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Louder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Louder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, All right, everybody feel relaxed?
Yes.
Your heartbeat moving?
Yeah.
Good, good, good. Now we're going to switch off. We did the body. We'll switch off into the mind. I've got 3 questions. 3 multiple choice questions about money. See if you know. We're just getting into the money mindset. My wife talked about switching into your money mindset. So, these are just quick, simple questions. How many times is money mentioned in the Bible? A, 99. B, 122. C, 140. D, 98. Once again, how many times is money mentioned in the Bible? A, 99. B, 122. C, 140. Or D, 98.
C. I'm going C.
This man said C, and he is correct.
All right.
140 times. It is important. It is important. All right, next question, real quick. We're going quickly. Which bill lasts the longest? Meaning, how this bill is on earth the longest amount of time? Is it the $1 bill, the $5 bill, the $10 bill, the $20 bill, the $50 bill, or the $100 bill? Which bill lasts the longest? Yes, sir. $5 bill is incorrect.
The $1.
Yeah, it's got to be the
Dollar? That is incorrect.
100.
Really?
That is incorrect.
$100 bill.
Any more guesses?
100.
$100 bill is actually correct.
Yeah.
And you know what? Because of your $100, you get $5. Wow. Okay, last question. I never like to have people answer questions without giving them money. That's just how I like to do it. So, last question. How many millionaires are in the U.S.? Is it 70?
No.
B, 100 million? C, 88 million? Or D, 190 million? How many millionaires are in the United States?
I'm gonna say C.
C, 88 million is incorrect. Any other guesses? A, 70 million is incorrect. D, 190 is correct. 190 millionaires. This is for you, sir. Yes. So that 190, that's more than we thought it was going to be, right?
Right.
You could be a part of that. Why limit yourself? Why limit yourself to say, oh, okay, well, I'm only going to be able to do this. I'm only going to be able to do that. No, we are switching our mindset from, instead of a demand mindset, to a supply mindset. So my wife is going to take it away and go ahead into it.
All right. Okay, so we've got the roadmap here. And what is so great is there are some great things that happen along the way. We've got to take baby steps. You can't just go leaps and bounds and try to pay off your house first before paying off your credit cards. The very first part of this was just truly understanding God's plan for your finances and then understanding how to do a budget. How many of you have already started taking steps toward planning your budget based on the previous lesson? Come on, give yourselves a hand for that. That's incredible. That is so important. And then the bullet point after that says to save $1,000. Because you want to always make sure that you have at least $1,000 in savings in case you need to buy new tires or in case something happens, you know, where you've got to replace an AC. Whatever it is, you've got to have $1,000 at least in savings to start with. All right, and then moving along this money roadmap here, it's all about having insurances, be it health insurance, life insurance, home insurance, car insurance. You got to secure your assets and yourself. All right, and then moving along to destination 3 on the roadmap is where we are in this class tonight, and that's about paying off all of your debts except for the mortgage. The mortgage is such a big debt to address that we want to get you positioned to do that. So let's get you financially free on everything else, and then you can work on a strategy to actually pay off the mortgage debt. And then moving along, once you've got your credit card debt and all of your debts paid off, then you move on to saving 3 to 6 months of living expenses, right? If you were to lose your job, anything like that, something should come up medically, where you need to take time off and you're not getting an income, at least you are covered from that standpoint. And then you move into that next phase, which is destination 5, starting investing in your retirement. So maybe it's 401ks, maybe it's cryptocurrency, maybe it's the stock market, whatever it may be, day trading. And Pastor Jacob's going to go into some strategies next week, and I'm excited. I'm going to be a student among you guys for next week's class when he goes into detail about that. And then finally, you're going to destination number 6, where you work on strategies to actually pay off your house. And then you've arrived. You will be at destination number 7, where you're living the legacy. You're leaving an inheritance for your children's children. Just as it says in the Word of God, God not only wants you to not be a slave to your lenders, and that's in the Bible, He wants you to also leave an inheritance to your children's children. He wants you to live in abundance so that you can actually overflow that into the lives of others and be a blessing to others. So it is truly amazing.
Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about how to live debt-free. One of the major steps is interest working, how interest is working against you. That's debt. Interest is working for you, investments. We have a lot of interest working against us with things that we purchase. We'll talk about a little bit more of that in depth tonight. And pay off all your debt except your house. My wife made mention of that earlier, but these are just some quick high-level things that we're going to talk a little bit about today. The quote down at the bottom says, make a decision today to get out of debt as soon as possible. The borrower is slave to the lender. It's making a decision, guys. You know, and daily we make that decision. It's not a thing where you say, oh man, well I got it today. And then tomorrow you wake up and you're like, well, I might want to get this. It's a decision that we need to make daily for ourselves and our families. All right, when you think about making purchases, don't think about monthly payments. Oh, man, that's a quote. When you think about making purchases, don't think about monthly payments and how you got to, break it down into these huge monthly payments. But this right here speaks to me and my wife personally. Breaking the cycle of debt in your family. How many people come from a family that lives in debt, that has debt? Anybody? Yes. This is a dream that's close to me where you don't have to have your kids pay for you when you get older. That's not how things are supposed to work. You raise them up so that they can live the abundant life, but not have to take care of you in that way. You set them up for success. I can think, there's only a certain portion of my family that doesn't have to lean on their kids. The majority of my family has to lean on their kids when they get older. When they get to 55, 65, like my mom. She doesn't have an inheritance that she's leaving for her sons. She doesn't have that. And even my father now, he's retired, but he's still working at the same time. So we want to start breaking that cycle tonight. Remember that. That cycle can be broken. It starts with you. It starts with you. And it starts with just the mindset, changing your mind about how you see your debt.
All right. So, why do we need to get out of debt? Let's talk about it. Why we need to get out of debt. First of all, 56% of Americans cannot even cover a $1,000 emergency. I touched on this earlier, that you need to have at least $1,000, but 56% of Americans don't have that in their savings to cover an emergency. So if something should go wrong, they don't have that in their, they can't tap into that to get themselves back out of whatever they got themselves into or whatever they need to pay for on the fly. It's just not there. And that's a large number, more than 50%. The next point here on why we need to get out of debt is that according to financial experts, the percent of Americans that are in debt is around 80%. So only 20% of Americans, all Americans that have consumer debt are basically, 20% of Americans don't have consumer debt. 80% of Americans are in debt. That's a large number. The next one is 8 in 10 Americans have some form of consumer debt, and the average debt in America is around $38,000, excluding mortgages. So average debt among every American household or every American is around $38,000. The next one, this is a big one. Owing money just seems to be a way of life for Americans. And collectively, we have $14 trillion in debt, Americans, collectively. But the way of life, again, it's what I mentioned earlier. Oh, it's okay to have credit cards. You know, you may max them out, but as long as you aren't late on them and you keep your credit good, then it's okay as long as you're paying them on time. You can manage it how you want. That is just in crisis mode. That's not really the way to live, right? And then the next one says 44% of Americans who have consumer debt are nearly twice as likely to say that their personal finances have caused them to lose sleep at night. You can't even sleep because you're so busy thinking about, or your mind is so consumed with the amount of debt that you have to pay and who you owe. That's not a way to live in peace. God doesn't want this for our lives. And then the next point, 1 in 5 Americans with credit cards have credit cards maxed out in last month alone. And then 1 in 4 Americans with debt are in collections for at least one of their debts. It's incredible.
Okay, everybody, say this with me. I'm not normal.
I'm not normal.
Now, say it like you got conviction, because that's why I'm going to read these next few things. You know, this is what's normal. Normal is, you know, Americans name investing their top financial goal, but 42% are not currently saving for retirement. Identity crisis is causing Americans to spend more money in the wrong places. Keeping up with the Joneses. It's that FOMO, fear of missing out. So you see something on Instagram, you're like, man, they live in large. Oh man, they got this, they got that. Well, maybe I should do that. Well, your bank account is saying, no, don't do that. But in your mind, you're thinking, yeah, let me do that. No. The biggest debt in America is mortgage debt, with the average American household mortgage being a little over $189 million. With the total, $9.4 trillion. The next biggest debt is student loans. We got any student loan people in the house?
Oh, yeah.
Student loans, okay. With the average amount per American household is almost $47,000. The average auto loan debt is almost $28,000. And the average credit card debt is a little over $5,000. These are averages. This is what's happening right now. But when you say it again, I'm not normal.
I'm not normal.
You are changing the system. You are breaking the cycle. Just by being in these series of classes, you're breaking the cycle. You say no more. That's how we attack debt. We say no more. It stops here. It's not going to have me. I'm not going to be a slave to it no more. But it starts up here. It starts with the mindset of saying, no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen to me or my family.
All right, and I've got to say this because I love the saying, don't buy things that you don't need to impress people that you don't even know and don't even like. Right. That's just a rule to live by. I'll repeat it. Don't buy things that you don't need to impress people that you don't even know and don't even like. So if you're thinking about getting that nice car.
Right.
Why? Other than, to get in debt for it, to impress people that you, just to have acceptance, to just say that or to leave some sort of impression on people that you don't know. No, we've got to, that's a mindset change that needs to shift. All right. So now that we know why we need to get out of debt, let's talk about how to live debt-free. I'm going to cover a methodology, and then I'm going to pass out slides, handouts that I have to kind of walk through the lessons. There's a quote here that says, "Pay off your debts from smallest to largest. It's not about math, it's about momentum." And momentum speaks to a methodology called the Snowball Method. And this is actually one of my favorite methods when it comes to getting out of debt. This is a method or a framework that was established by Dave Ramsey. It was popularized by him, essentially coined by him. I don't know if you guys have heard of Dave Ramsey, have you? He's a financial guru. But essentially, the method is all about taking your debt, listing it out from smallest to largest, and then paying your lowest balance first, and paying the minimum on everything else that you have. And then once you pay off that lowest balance, what you were paying on that low balance prior to paying it off, that amount is going to roll, and I'm going to walk you through this so you'll be able to visually see what I'm saying. But you're going to roll what you were paying before paying it off over to the next lowest balance. And you're going to continue that as you build up momentum and paying off the largest balance. And that's essentially how it goes. And so what's nice about it is as you continue to pay off each of these debts and taking what you were paying and collecting it and paying other balances, you begin to see that mind shift, right? You get excited. It gives you a confidence or a level of confidence that you can do this. And you eventually get kind of like how me and my husband are right now, like allergic to debt. You're more conscious of it, more aware of it, and more in control of it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're completely out of debt when you get that mindset shift. It just means now you've got a plan for it. And then you continue to take the steps to move toward getting 100% out of debt. The goal is to live debt-free. All right? All right. And so with that, you're going to celebrate each victory along the way as you do it. And the most important thing through this whole thing is to trust God. Trust God with each step. Each time you pay it off, just move in faith. Even if you don't have all of the money to cover it, move in faith. And you'll be essentially moving from facts to faith when you're doing this. And with God, all things are possible. And these are things that you profess in your daily walk toward getting out of debt. All right. So let's dig into the Snowball Method. I've got some handouts. Okay, guys, so we've got two handouts. The first one is the one that we're going to start with. I'm actually covering two methodologies in this lesson tonight. That is the Snowball Method and the Dead Avalanche Method, which we'll talk about next. But in the Snowball Method, first I'm going to take you up here to look at an example here. In the Snowball Method, we've got a list of debt, and there are 5 creditors that are listed here, or examples of debt. The first one is a credit card debt with a $500 balance. The next one is a credit card with a $1,000 balance at 22% interest. The interest rates are listed here, but it's important to know that in the Snowball Method, the focus isn't on interest. The Avalanche Method focuses on interest first, paying off the high interest cards first, or paying off the high interest debt first. But in the Debt Snowball Method, it's about paying the lowest balance first. And so you've got $500 credit card, a $1,000 balance on your credit card, furniture with a $2,000 balance on it, 16% interest. And then you've got a car that you owe $9,000 on in this example, and then a home that you owe $200,000 on. The interest is at 4%. What you're going to do is you're going to list your debt, just like it's listed here, from the smallest to the largest debt. So as you can see, the $500 credit card is the lowest one on the list, and it is listed as number 1. The number 5 debt is your home, which is the largest debt, at $200,000. So once you have that ordered, I'm going to take it to the lesson to show you how to attack that. But essentially, you're going to pay only the minimum balance on everything except for the lowest debt. This is the one that you're going to throw most of the money at, while just maintaining the minimum payments on the rest of them, because you don't want to mess up your credit, or you want to stay in good standing with your creditors. All right, and then once you pay off this $500 credit card, whatever you were paying, let's just say you were paying $100 a month on this credit card. 5 months later, when this $500 balance is paid off, you're going to take that $100 that you were paying here, and you're going to roll it to the next card that you were paying toward, that you were essentially paying the minimum balance on. So if you were paying only $25 here, now you will be paying $125. All right. So let me take you to the sheet so that you can actually see the example being kind of illustrated. All right. Okay, so there's a table here, and across the top, you've got credit card balances, kind of like what we see here. But basically, there's a $500 balance, a $625, $675, a $1,000, and a $1,200 balance. And as you can see, in the example, you will pay $100 toward the $500 balance, while only paying the minimum balance, or the minimum required amount of $25 on everything else. Can you guys see that in the example? Yeah. So you're maintaining, and it could be different depending on your creditors, but in this example, just understand that the takeaway is that you're only going to pay the minimum amount on everything else except for the lowest card balance. All right? So once you're paying, and on the side, going down vertically, are the months. So in month 1, after you've paid $100, you've got a $400 balance. Month 2, you've got a $300 balance, and so forth. So by the time you get to month 5, you're at a 0 balance. Can you guys see that in the example?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that means you have paid off that credit card because you were paying $100 a month toward that card. Now it's 0 balance. And then if you move down to the second table, in the second table, you've got your second credit card. You've been paying on that credit card all along for the first 5 months. Can you guys see that balance gradually going down in the first table? So if you look in the first table at $625, you were paying $25 every month. And in the 5th month, even while you were paying that first credit card, now your balance in month 5 is $500. That rolls down. And so in month number 6, now you're paying the $100 that you were paying on the lowest card, plus the $25 that you were paying. Now you're paying $125 toward that second card limit. And you just continue to go down, paying the minimum balance on everything else. And just, it's essentially you're building momentum, and you're able to pay more each time you pay off each card. So I'm going to jump you down to the second to last table here. The second to last table, you've got 2 credit cards left, and your balance is now $700 and $900. So you've built up enough momentum and paid minimum balance and started paying off cards to where now your monthly payment is $175 that you have going toward your credit cards. All right? You went from $100 to $175. That's the momentum that you built up. So now you can pay this card off much faster. It's only going to take you a few more months to pay it off. You pay that down, and now you're paying $200 a month toward that final credit card balance. And then you pay that off in a few months, and now you're completely out of debt. That's essentially the framework or the methodology around the debt snowball. And so I've got a list of steps on the side for you to follow, and it's essentially lists, and you can do this week, you know, when you're home and your alone time, looking at your bills, list out your debt from smallest to largest, just like you see here. And I love spreadsheets. I don't know if there are any, Excel gurus here, but it helps me to kind of play with numbers and put formulas and things like that in to watch the stuff going down automatically. But whatever works for you, as long as you have visibility, if it's the back of an envelope with a crayon, have visibility to what your debt exposure is. This is how you do it. And this is how you plan for getting that balance down. Okay, so once you've listed them for smallest to lowest, then you're going to do what we walked through just now. Start working on that lowest card balance or that lowest debt balance while maintaining the minimum, only the minimum payment on everything else. And then once you pay off each one, you're going to roll what you were paying over to the next ones, and then essentially pay that all off. And then you celebrate the win. So with each credit card payment that you make, or each time you pay off a creditor, you're going to celebrate that, and that's going to help you psychologically. All right. Okay, are there any questions on the debt snowball? I want to open it up to any questions on this. Okay, feel free. You've got a question? Okay.
So, would I do the same snowball effect for credit cards that I have closed? I know you mentioned earlier, do not close the credit cards, but 5 years ago I lost my job, so to prevent me from swiping,
Yeah.
I closed them.
Okay.
So now they're in good standing, but they're just closed.
Okay.
Would I do the snowball effect with my current credit cards?
Active debt. Yeah, active debt.
Okay.
I would say do it with active debt. I would even say that I had a discussion with someone over the weekend who has charged off debt, like medical bills and things like that. That's no longer active. They're not accruing interest on them. They're just bad debt. I would say divide your plan in half to your inactive debt versus your active debt, and only focus on your active debt initially, and then transition to your inactive debt, right? Because the active debt is the stuff that, is impacting your credit right now. For the most part, they're weighing heavily against it, but you have a better chance of recovering faster from a credit standpoint, at least in my experience, by paying off your active debt. That's the stuff that's a little bit more high risk, right? Because, of interest and things like that. Get that under control first, and then move over to and all of it is important, but in terms of prioritization, take care of that active debt first, and then come back around and negotiate with those creditors. Because now you've got some freedom, right? Your money isn't tied up in all these credit cards that you've been paying off or paying each month. You can now allocate it and go to these other creditors on the inactive debt with negotiations. Hey, I owe you $1,000. It's a charged off debt. Will you take $200? Right? And now you can actually just pay them $200 because you've got a little bit more financial freedom. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we are on the next method, which is the Debt Avalanche. This one takes a little bit more, in my opinion, a little bit more effort because you are actually going after the debt with the highest interest. And I say effort in terms of mental effort, because you don't really see it, in my opinion, you don't see the progress as fast as you do with the Debt Snowball. So for me, I get more momentum and more excitement looking at the Debt Snowball method. Debt Avalanche is proven as well. But once you start chunking away, because you, in the same example, and I'll cover these points in just a moment, if you're starting with your largest debt, and I'm going to put the house to the side because, again, we always want to pay off the mortgage last. But if you've got that $9,000 car, if it had a higher interest on it, and you start with that versus something that you only owe $500 on, then you'll get some momentum paying that $9,000, but you're going to see faster momentum going the other way, in my opinion. You'll see the results faster, is what I mean. Now, paying off or paying down the high interest debt, you'll be attacking the principal, so you can see that shrink, and then once you take care of that, higher interest rate, then, essentially you'll get that paid off, and then you can carry that over. And it works the same way, and I've got a lesson that I'll essentially walk you through. But again, my favorite is the Debt Snowball. You'll decide after we go through this what works better for you. But both are proven and both are effective. It's just, tomatoes are tomatoes. All right. So the second method here, Debt Avalanche, is again all about paying off the highest to the lowest interest rate. And then once you do it, you're going to start throwing extra money toward that high interest rate. Pay over my opinion would be to try to attack the principal. So while you're paying on the high interest rate, throw a little extra money at it so that you can bring down the principal balance. Once you get to paying off your mortgage, this is a strategy that you want to do. You probably have heard, hey, extra payment or two a year, take that 30 years down to, 25 years, or take like 7 years off. I think it's 23 years, right? And so same concept once you're attacking the interest rate. And then this one, as it's mentioned here, it requires stronger will and more discipline. It's very factual. But regardless of which method you decide to go with, celebrate your wins, celebrate the victories, and rooted in the trust of God through it. Keep the faith and move from facts to faith when you're doing this. All right, so does everybody have this Debt Avalanche sheet? All right, I've got a couple examples, and essentially it's the same strategy, but instead of focusing on the lowest amount or the lowest balance, you are focusing on the highest interest debt. All right, and so I've got a MasterCard in this example. And so we're looking at the first table. You've got a MasterCard with a 22% interest rate. You've got a Target charge card or a credit card with a 19% interest rate. And then you've got a car loan with a 5% interest rate. Now, there are only the minimum the minimum amounts listed here instead of the full balances, just to kind of give you an idea of how the methodology works. You're going to start working on this MasterCard with 22% interest. Your minimum payment is $75. I would recommend paying a little bit more than $75, even if it's $80, to attack the principal, to bring down to buy down your interest a little bit faster, or the principal balance a little bit faster. But you pay that $75. Once you pay off that MasterCard in this example, the $75 that you were paying, you're going to roll that to the next highest interest card, which is the Target card at 19%. So you're taking the $75 that you were paying and you're adding it to the $35 that you were paying. Can you guys see that in the example? Mm-hmm. All right. And so now you've got $110 to go toward that Target card, and you're going to continue to pay toward that. And once that Target card is paid off, you're going to take that $110 and then roll it to the next balance, which is your car loan. And that'll essentially be $310 going towards your car loan. You've got faster momentum, and now you can pay that off because you're chunking out more, or throwing more money at the car payment versus what you were previously paying. All right? And at the very bottom of this example sheet here, it's just kind of showing you both methods. At the top, you see the Debt Snowball method. At the bottom, you see the Debt Avalanche method. In the middle is just a combination of both. Some people actually do both. So feel free to just decide which way you want to start off with, but know that you can go back and forth between the two and decide, just, it's all about what works for you. But some people actually use both methods, so. All right. Questions?
Sorry. Would you include student loan debt in this, or is it is that like a different beef? That's a great question. Student loan debt is important. I would put student loan debt at the bottom of it. If it's the where does it fall in your lineup? Is it the biggest debt that you have? Okay. I would include it. I know we've been saying, hey, save the mortgage for last, or save the home for last, but I would definitely include student loan debt. Okay. I know, people that I've had $150,000 and, from my master's and all that stuff, so I get it, but I would definitely include it. Yeah. Okay, all right, so in this, I'm just kind of a recap. It's just basically showing you the order, and I kind of covered it in this lesson, but it's basically showing you that your high interest rate debt is going to be the priority. So this is just kind of walking you through that. So we've covered it.
Okay, so everybody's probably asking the question, well, man, where am I going to get all this money from to pay down this debt? I'm only making X amount, right? You're thinking, how can I get more money? So we're doing a lot of call and response tonight. So I want you to say this phrase with me. The money is there.
The money is there.
Say it again. The money is there.
The money is there.
Please don't let these reports, these facts, these news segments make you think that all the money's dried up. I don't know. When we talk about here, we don't talk about living in fear. We come from a different mindset. Remember, we said a few minutes ago, we're not normal. We're not going with the norm of everybody saying, well, no, Tonight, we start differently. The money is there. Now, here's some resources where you can find some more money. Because if you really want to attack the debt, you want to attack it You know, just like a lion attacks a deer, it sees it. It sees it moving slowly. But then it pounces on it. It puts everything it has to attack it. That's its food. So we're going to do the same thing with the debt. We're going to break the cycle. So these are some things. If you've got a regular job, great. Great. You can add this to your regular income in order to pay down debt. So some resources are, be a freelancer. There's tons of freelancing jobs. You can do, if you're a writer, if you're great at writing. Graphic designer, you like to create stuff. Voiceover, hey, you've got a nice voice. Me, whatever. There are freelancers for that. You can go to Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, or Upwork, and then sign up there and then charge people for your services. Now, because of COVID, more and more people are looking online for things that they need. Okay? So, next, virtual assistant. If you're good at helping out folks, virtual assistant, you can sign up. You can also go on Fiverr, Upwork, and present yourself as a virtual assistant. You can take phone calls for people. You can do spreadsheets for folks. Be a virtual assistant. Take surveys. Believe it or not, people pay you for your opinion. That's right. So, what are some of the sites? You can go to Swagbucks. All of these are .com. Swagbucks.com, inboxdollars.com, or surveyjunkie.com. All of those will pay you for your ideas about a particular product. Oh, of course, we've got Uber and Lyft. Now, what do you say? I don't have a car. Lyft has an opportunity for you. They'll actually give you a car. And you can drive for them, yes. Of course, it comes out of your pay, but you still, all you need is a license. That's all you need. Rent out your car. People are doing this. My company is using this site more than ever now because they've got so many great cars on it, better than cars that you would see at your normal Enterprise, Dollar, Avis. You can go to Turo.com and people actually rent out their own cars for a better price. So people are making more money here than ever. Do deliveries for DoorDash, Grubhub. Do that. People are making money now. I know somebody right now, a person that delivered for me. All they do is work for DoorDash on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. They do it the unlimited amount of time, and they're making $1,200 a week just doing deliveries. That's it. So eat out at restaurants. Believe it or not, yes, you can get money for eating out. You go out on a date, Seated.com gives you money. Now, albeit you can get $15, $25, or even upwards of $50, but that's just eating out at restaurants. They've got restaurants featured every day on there. You can also be a book reviewer. Yes, they pay you for reading books online. You can go to bookbrowse.com or booklistonline.com and become a book reviewer and get paid. Okay, what about, you're saying, okay, well maybe, I don't know. Teach something. There is always an opportunity out there for somebody to learn something that you know. You are valuable. You are a resource to somebody else. I don't care what it is. You can teach something. And then get on Fiverr and say, hey, I know how to do this. Pay me for it. Okay?
And I was just going to add on the teach something. Create a digital product. You can put it on places like Udemy. You can just put it on or host it on your own website. You can go to Teachable and teach it and just record it once, slice it up into lessons, and now you're making money in your sleep. You can actually do an ebook as well and sell it on Amazon. There are so many different things. And this is just my, go-to hair regimen, or, how to properly do X. It could be things as simple as that people just don't know and could use the advice for to pay a quick $25 or $99 for it. And it's just something that you'll be able to make money in your sleep off of. So, digital products.
Mm-hmm. And it's literally anything. Write it down and say, I'm good at this. So I've got a friend in Chicago who said, hey, all I like to do is tell stories and dance. She created a whole company for that. That's all she does. She does events where people come and they tell stories and people listen and people actually pay for that. Can you believe it? So don't limit your thinking and say, well, nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to pay me. Stop thinking like that.
Yeah.
No, we're changing the mindset today. When I tell you the money is there, the money is there. It's unlimited resources for you. Remember, we have a supply mindset, not a demand mindset. People are going to come to you. Blessings are going to take you down. They're going to overtake you. Blessings are within you and they surround you. So the last couple of things, trust God. We've been saying that all night tonight. Trust God in believing that, okay, what I put out there, it's going to happen. Declare God's goodness over your finances. Yes, that's right. You are blessed. Your money is blessed. Before you pay this bill, say, thank you, Jesus, that I have more than enough money when I pay this bill. Thank you that I have more than enough money in my account than I do have the month that's left. You know, also believe it. Starts with belief, your belief. Believe that you are an overcomer. It's already in you. God already believes in you. We just have to start believing it. We're going to start believing it. We're changing it tonight. And I'm declaring it right now. These folks in this room and watching online, they're going to come back. Because Pastor Jay, I don't know if you know this, but a young lady last year, in 2021, I haven't seen her in, I want to say probably 3 years, but I saw her in the parking lot at church on Sunday. And she said, now you remember about 5 years ago, she stood in the same classroom and she was going back and forth. She kept saying, but she said she took the class and she started applying everything. And she was older. She was in her 60s. And she didn't have a retirement. She says now, applying all of those methods, she now has retirement. She now has more than enough money. She's got a new job that she never thought she'd be able to have before. But this is in her 60s. So when I say it can happen for you, it can happen for you. I believe it for you. Okay, we're breaking the cycle of debt. Bondage. This is where most folks are. This is normal. This is the normality right here. We've got fear, doubt, unbelief. My wife talked about people losing sleep. I used to lose sleep over debt. You know, not anymore. I sleep good, baby. I sleep good. Yes. Lack of time. You're like, man, I don't have enough time. I've got to work here. I got kids. You have enough time. Beyonce got 24 hours of the day, so do you. You know, that's what they say. But you have enough time. There is enough money. You start believing that. So struggling. You got marriage struggling because people, you know, that's one of the major causes of divorce is money. Parenting, friendships, all of that weighs down on you when this thing isn't going right. But we are moving from this to abundance, debt-free, confidence, faith, certainty. We've got more time on our hands. We could spend it with our kids, with our friends, family, stuff that we want to do. Maybe you want to spend it time in church. You can do that. Maybe you want to take a vacation. Enjoy yourself. How about that? So then we move into a stronger marriage, stronger relationship with our kids, and stronger friendships. We are moving over that hump tonight. All right. Now, my wife went over this earlier tonight, but just one thing I want to reiterate at this map, just think of it. It's a journey. It's a journey. That means it takes time, and that's okay. I heard the saying that anybody that says and shows you a get-rich scheme, those are the only people that are getting rich by telling you about this get-rich scheme. They're not getting rich from it. They're getting rich from teaching you about this scheme that doesn't really work. So, this is a journey, okay? Give yourself some grace on this journey. It's okay to take time. And then you say, okay, well, maybe I paid off 2 debts from my Debt Snowball. Oh, well, maybe I might buy myself a little something if it's within your budget. Celebrate the wins, like my wife said. You know, take your time. Give yourself some grace. And remember, hey, everybody is on this journey too. You know, the trick of the enemy is thinking, I'm the only one that's going through this. No.
80% of Americans.
Yeah. We're on this thing together. Together. So if you ever need some help, you know, we're here to help. We're here to help. All right. So another major shift change in my life, particular, and in our lives as a married couple, was practicing generosity. You know, when we go back to that previous slide where it was like, it said, well, I don't have it. I don't know, how can I give when I don't have it? Giving releases it. It opens your hands to so much more. So, I want to say 4 years ago, I heard the founder of Calvary Church, Pastor Jadon George, speak a message that I thought was speaking directly to me when he said, hey, start tithing on the amount of money that you want to have in your account. And I said, that sounds a little crazy, but you know what? I think he's talking to me about that. So I talked to my wife and I said, this is what I'm going to do. Now, mind you, I've never in my life, I'm 45 now, and then I think back then I was 39. So that was probably 6 years ago. But yeah, I had never in my life tithed for an entire year straight. I was a occasional giver, you know, as they said in service the other day. So, but I said, hey, let me go ahead and let me tithe continuously, but also let me tithe on the amount that I want to see from my paycheck. So then I did that for an entire year. Literally the month of December, I get a call from my CEO. He says, hey, we've been doing great. You've been doing a great job. Hey, you know, just out of the blue, I want to bump you up to this salary. Do you know that was the exact salary that I was tithing for? You know? And now, last year, I've made more money than I've made in my entire life, last year. But then, God challenged me again. Not challenged me, but I believe he said, you're going to give away the most amount of money you've ever given this year. But also, you're going to make the most amount of money you've ever made again this year. And I believe it. But how can that happen? I'm going to give away the most amount and make the most amount? How is that going to happen? With faith. I'm believing God. Just like you, I'm believing God along this journey. But I'm saying, hey, he's got me. He's got me. So when I give with a smile, knowing, oh man, I'm giving from the overflow. I cannot be, I don't have drought. I don't have a recession. Not in my pocketbook, not in my bank account. Comes from, once again, your belief in who and whose you are. So wherever you are on this ladder, just like Pastor Chris said the other day, just start. Just start, whatever it is. It's not about the amount, it's about equal participation. So just start from where you are. If that's $5, if that's $25, whatever it is, just start. Be continuous with it. And I say, I'll challenge you. Even if you've never started before, try 90 days. I tell everybody that. Try 90 days of just giving and see what God does. I'm telling you, it will change your life. It has mine and it has my wife's. So, all right, prayer. So prayer is an important part of your journey to financial freedom. You know, what does Steve Harvey say? He was like, hey, talk to God. He loved to hear from you, you know? So if there's something that you are believing for, talk to God about it. Take time to pray about it. And then pray in belief. Pastor Ben says, thank you is the greatest statement of faith. So start your prayer with, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, that all my bills are taken care of. Thank you that I have retirement. Thank you that my kids are taken care of. Thank you that I have this roof over my head. You'll be surprised how many things that God has blessed you with once you start stacking those thoughts of thankfulness and gratitude. So yes, start with prayer and end with prayer. That's one of the best financial habits you can have, is doing that. All right. Now with that, we're going to go ahead and turn it back over to Pastor Jacob. Give it up for him.
Give Derek and Tanisha a hand clap. Come on. Wasn't that good? I told you all you're in for a real good teaching. And just obviously, credit is tied to debt, right? Because people ask me all the time in these financial classes, well, Jacob, you're telling me to get out of debt, but it takes debt to have credit. Not necessarily. You just have to understand the playbook, okay? Just like a football team says, oh, the purpose is just to hit each other. It's like, no, right? There's a game plan, right? So when it comes to credit, I'm going to give you some very practical things so that you can establish your credit, because there's people who said, man, I haven't established credit. I don't have bad credit, but I don't have credit. So then I'm going to teach you how this thing works. But just to answer the question that comes up all the time, how do I build credit without debt? It's possible. Again, you just have to understand it. So let's just say that you have $1,000 credit card, okay? If you go put more than $250 on that credit card, okay? Then the creditors and the credit bureau start saying, hey, you know what? This person doesn't know how to manage their credit because they're maxing out their credit lines, okay? So understand that one of the main goals with credit lines is you don't ever want to exceed more than 25% of that credit line. So if your credit line is $1,000, you don't pass more than $250, okay? Definitely no more than $300. The challenge is that because we're not taught these things in the school system, I remember the first credit card I got out of college, I maxed that thing out quickly.
Yes.
You know, I told my wife, I was like, girl, I got you. I said I would take her on a date, Chick-fil-A,
We got it.
you know. Now grab a car. I'll be like, I got it. Don't pull out your wallet. I got this. Swipe the credit card. And this is real, okay? I'm not. One time, here I am trying to be like a baller, whatever, you know. I take her out on a date with her friend, because I'm going to cover the three of us, right?
Big spender.
Big spender, no money in the bank. But hey, you're trying to impress, you know, like this is my wife to be, you know?
Right.
So I take her out on this date, and I think the bill was like $75 back in the day. And so the waitress brings the bill, and I'm like, here, you know. I mean, you know how you do it with style, right? You get that credit card, and you're like, here you go. So then she comes back, and she's like, excuse me, sir. I didn't go through. I was like, impossible. Try it again. And she's like, sir, didn't go through. And I was like, oh, crap. That's all the money I thought I had. So, short story, I end up having my wife. She used to be my girlfriend at the time. But that's how you know they're, you know, for you.
She was
You
there.
know? They got your back, right? But she's glad she made that investment today. No, but that's true story. Like, you know, like you don't know, right? I remember I got the credit card because I was walking in college, and I remember it was, I think, Wells Fargo or Bank of America. They had these nice water cups.
Sign up right here.
Yes.
And it looked silver, stainless steel, and I was like, man, that's nice. How do I get one of those? Just sign up to get a credit card. I was like, okay. She was like, don't worry, it's going to take only 3 minutes. Just put your social security. You know. I was like, okay, sounds fun, right? My first credit card. Sign up. I think I got like approved for like $500. And then that's how that got maxed out, you know, because you just don't pay attention to these things. So that's why parents in the room, that's why we got to sit down with our children. We can't delegate that education to the school system. They're not going to do it for us. So it's on us to sit down and explain this, right? So what builds your credit? I'm going to start with the biggest one, 35%. Paying on time, every time. Say that with me. Pay on time.
Pay on time.
Every time.
Every time.
Sometimes.
Every time.
Every time, right? So pay on time every time. Payment history is 35% of that credit score. Okay? That basically is like a track record, right? If you come and say, hey, Jacob, can I borrow $1,000? I'll be like, let me see that credit score, man. That's like the first point of reference, because that tells me about your integrity, right? tells me what kind of track record you've built over time. So 35% is going to be that. Then 30% is don't use more than 20% of your credit line, which I just explained to you. So that's already 65 of the battle, right?
Right.
That's paying on time every time and don't go beyond that, right? So what I have done, because I've learned, because also I'm like, I'm not going to use these credit cards. They're evil, right?
Right.
So then you don't use it for like 3 years. Then the bank sends you a letter in the mail. It says, sir, ma'am, you haven't used this in 3 years. Sorry, we're going to close your credit card. And that tanks your credit score. Because again, is you don't lose it, you lose it. Okay? And some credit cards, they have different parameters. If you don't use them in 2 years or 3 years, they'll close them out. Okay? So what I did after that, I was like, oh, Lord, I'm a nerd. So I was like, go on that spreadsheet. Right? So now all my credit cards go on the spreadsheet, and I put a day and a time when I used it. Right? So I use them once a year. Okay? Once a year. And it's normally for like $30 to $60. Most of the time, so because I don't want to forget, I just use it for like gas. Just gas, fill up the tank. And then I'll let them charge me interest for like 2 months. Because the interest on $60 is nothing. Because they charge you, let's just say 19% to 29% per year annualized. So it's not much. But after 2 months, again, pay on time, right? Because if you pump gas and you're a free spirit like my wife, and you forget when the bill is due and you just go about your life, right? No, you got to be like me. You got to have the alerts. Phone alerts. The nerd has the phone alerts, right? And you log in every day to the bank, so, like, it's hard for something to, again, they closed that credit card on me, and I was like, mad at myself for a little bit. But that's how you learn sometimes, right? Like, I didn't know they were going to do that, but now I know, and I'm teaching you that so that you can have a strategic game plan. Okay? So then I use them once a year, let them charge me a little bit of interest, right? Because how you win is you pay little interest, you make big interest on your investments. That's the blueprint to win. Okay? So then that's how you do that. So they don't close the credit lines on you. Then 15% is don't close the credit lines. Increase them instead. So let's just say you've built this track record with your credit cards, right? So you've had a credit card for 2-3 years, and they've never increased your balance, right? So you got to, again, don't pass this 30% for some time. Use it at least once or twice a year, right? Pay a little interest on it. And then you call the bank and say, Mr. Bank of America, Mr. Chase, Mr. Wells Fargo, Mr. whatever. I need you to, we've been in this credit relationship for some time, 2-3 years. And I need to see what you can do to increase my credit line. Because I'm about to make some purchases, some strategic purchases in my life. And I would really appreciate if you could increase my credit line. And since we've built this relationship for 2, 3, 5, 10 years now, can you please let me speak to whoever can make decisions? Okay? And then they'll be like, well, Mr. whatever your last name is, no problem. We looked into it, and yes, we can raise it by maybe $1,000. That's how you win. Okay? So now you're through $2,000-$3,000 credit card. Now it's $4,000 or $5,000, right? So that the trust is growing, and you're not gonna go and max it out again, anyways, right?
Right.
So that's how you win. That's the playbook to winning. Okay? And then 10% new credit. Now, again, 10% new credit, I wouldn't really worry about that. Because especially free spirits, they're like, oh, I need a new credit card every month. And it's like, no. Focus on this. What's 35 plus 30 plus 15? What is that?
80.
That's 80%. Do you really need to nail it 80, like 100% on the credit? No. This will probably get you to 700 credit score. Now you want 800 and complicate your life by getting more credit cards and all this stuff. Do you really want to do that? No. I mean, when you need a 700 credit score, it's primarily to get a home loan.
Yeah.
Okay? Once you already get a home loan, I mean, what else do you really need a 700 credit score plus? If it's not to like cosign for your business. So let's just say you're launching a business, okay? And you're having to cosign for the LLC to get the credit going. Then you might need to strengthen your credit score again, right? Because you're like the cosigner for the company. But then you need to have a strategic relationship with the lender that's opening the credit line for your company, because at some point you need to say, hey, the company's been building credit for 2-3 years. Now I need to pull out my social security, and I need the company to have its own standing credit. Okay? So you see, that was a strategic move. But other than that, like, you don't need the 800 credit score just to be walking around saying, I have 800 credit score. Like, what's the point? You know? Like, that to me is just like, man, you're getting more new debt and you're being strategic with the credit mix. Because, credit, like Target, every time you go to Target, thank you, sir, for checking out. Do you already have a credit card? Like, yes, I have 10. Please stop asking me because my wife is going to get 12. I just mess with them. When I do that, they just look at me like. So don't use more than 20%. Don't close the credit lines. Increase them instead. Because, again, some people get hardcore, right? I'm going to close that credit card. Well, good luck. Because then your credit score is going to tank. Okay? Also, when you buy a car, because you're buying it in installments, when you make that last payment, it's also going to drop your credit score. Yeah. Because it's not an ongoing relationship with the bank. Basically, you're getting married for 5 years, and then you're going to break up with them. And it's going to hurt your credit afterward.
So I have a question on that. Because mine tanked when I paid off my car, and then the creditors told me, well, you need at least 5 credit cards to have a good score. I know. So I didn't get the 5 credit card, but I don't have anything big on my credit. And so that's my challenge now. But I do have some credit cards. I do have some closed credit cards and just a few that's active. Mm-hmm. But I don't have a car loan, student loans, no home. But I want to get to a home, but I'm struggling with my credit now. All I have is the credit cards.
Yeah, you're in the phase of being really strategic.
Yeah.
So, for example, the way I think about credit cards is like a friendship, okay? I'm strategic with my friendships, right? That I bring to my house, that I keep at my table, right? So I say, do I see myself establishing a relationship with this credit card for a long term? Okay? If you're just going to go get a credit card, a rooms to go for the couch and the TV, is that really a long-term relationship, or is that just like short-term relationship? When you think of credit, always think long-term. Because remember, the length of the credit, 15%. Okay? So you gotta open strategic credit cards that you can use when you travel, that maybe they don't have yearly fees, right? Because that's where they get you sometimes. Don't fall for those yearly fees. Get credit cards that don't pay you international fees, because if you travel on vacations, you don't want to take your debit card because, somebody could take it from you, do crazy stuff. But get credit. If you do that, just be strategic. Again, long term. It's important. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what about, I've had some people saying that getting somebody that you trust or somebody that knows you better, adding you as an authorized user to their credit card if they have long history, like maybe someone has a credit card that is really good.
Yeah.
Does that really help, or is it just?
Oh, Lord. I'm not trying to be mean, but if you want to keep strong friendships, don't co-sign for them. If you want to keep strong relationship with family, don't co-sign.
No, them adding you like as
it's the same thing.
User to
You're just doing it the other way. I honestly, it's really not a wise thing to do. It's something that you honestly have to walk through prayerfully and carefully, because if you mess up, not intentionally, because how many people do you know that got laid off without them kind of deciding, I want to get laid off, right?
Right.
And then you put your friends or family in a tough situation because they trusted you. Okay, so it's just that aspect of anything can happen, and you'd rather just make wise decisions. I'm of the believer that if God is going to open the door for me, I'm not going to go and bust it open. I'm going to believe that He has the right people, the right things in lined up for me. And so I don't want to put anybody in a bad situation. Does that make sense?
So on the not adding any new lines, but to increase, a lot of them don't allow you to increase without having to apply for the increase. Or do you just like be like, look, can I talk to the supervisor?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I would.
I mean, I
Again, and that is a great question, but you guys need to start learning the art of negotiating.
Yeah.
The more money you have, the more you need to be like, oh, is that the best you can do?
Right. See, I need that.
I got the cash right here.
Let me negotiate.
I got it right here. Is that the best you can do? Because otherwise, I'm telling you, I've been doing research, and there's other banks that will really love to do business with me.
Right.
Take the interest, the 29% interest that I'm paying. There's other banks that would love to take that. As a matter of fact, my dad is willing to let me borrow money at 29%. So it's practice that.
Yeah.
Now, if they end up telling you no, then you really have to decide. Do I want to stick with them or open a, A lot of times, don't be afraid of going to sit down with a small union bank.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And cast vision of what you want to accomplish. And say, can you walk this thing out with me or not?
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm looking to buy a house. I'm looking to buy a car.
Right.
Can you, when the time comes, are you going to rip me off with interest rates, or are we going to work this thing out?
Right.
Again, but they don't teach us, most parents don't teach us this at the table, right? So it's that aspect of, and there's no shame in the game because our parents can't teach us what they don't know, right?
Right.
But that's why we educate ourselves and try to make better
So
decisions.
you mentioned earlier about car payment. When you end up with a car payment, your credit score goes down. Is that like how? Can you explain that again?
Yeah, because it's just installment loan, right? Just like furniture. It's like you sign up for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and then after that, the relationship is over, right? So they have because it costs them money to go report credit on you.
Yeah.
So why would they go and keep saying, oh, he's a good husband, he's paying on time, if you already stopped being a good husband? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You look at credit just like a relationship, right?
Yeah.
You reap what you sow.
Right.
You're sowing interest on these guys, so they have an interest in going and report that, oh, you're a good friend. But you cut that loose,
Yeah.
they're gonna stop reporting. That's why there is companies now that will start reporting like let's just say you pay rent, right? There's companies that as long as you can provide the contracts and everything, they'll report your rent payment on your credit and it'll go up. But they charge you money. It's not free. You guys with me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna hurry up. So how to build a good credit score? Pay on time every time, right? We got that? You with me?
Right.
Get a copy of your credit score every year and review it for accurate and inaccurate information. I think that's a big one, y'all. I have with my bank, I get a report saying your new FICO score, and right away I jump out of bed and I'm like, okay, good. I want it like this or like that. I don't like it when it goes down. If it goes down, I'm like, did you send the payment? I look at my wife right away and I'm like, did you send the payment? Especially now, with all the fraud and these cyber attacks and all this crazy stuff. Russia mad at us right now. Make sure that you get alerts for your credit. Last year, somebody tried to steal my wife's identity because she got a letter in the mail saying, hey, I'm sorry, we turned you down on unemployment in Florida. So she had to call right away All 3 credit bureaus, IRS, crazy.
Oh, okay.
Somebody was trying to collect unemployment from her in Florida. I'm like, we don't even live in Florida.
We have a feature now where you can lock your identity. I just learned that recently, like on the IRS website, you can lock your social security.
Yeah.
And when you wanna apply for something, you can just unlock it and then relock it once you.
Well, that's great. Yeah, so again, get acquainted with all the tools and resources because it's important. Because if you didn't spend it and now you gotta pay it, that's a problem, right? I mean, I wouldn't, if I spend it, I don't want to pay it, but if I didn't spend it, I don't want to pay it. Dispute any non-credit report errors, okay? Because that hurts your credit too. Avoid new credit inquiries. Again, every time you go to Target, they're like, sign up, sir, or Sam's, or anywhere you go.
Yeah.
You know? Negotiate with your creditors. We talked about that. Lower interest rates, increase credit lines, pay off your credit cards. Don't cancel the credit lines. Don't co-sign for family or friends unless you are willing to make the payments for them on time, right? Keep your debt to income ratios as low as possible. Use your credit cards at least once a year and pay them off immediately. If you hire a credit repair company, research customer feedback and don't sign contracts. That's a big one, y'all.
Yeah.
I mean, don't just anybody who says, oh man, I'm a part-time, over here and
Right.
part-time over there. No, like get somebody that's been doing that
Yeah.
full-time, 10 years plus, is an expert, they know what they're doing. Get feedback, and don't sign crazy contracts. Be diligent. Always protect your family. That's important. The story of the dog. I'm gonna close with this tonight. So this is the story of this guy that used to sit on his front porch, right? Just to sip on coffee every morning. And he will see this guy, running around the block. How many of you got a neighbor that, they love going on jogs and running? And so he will always look at this gentleman with his dog, right? And every time he would pass, he would see that the dog was kind of crying. He'll be going like, oh, oh. So finally, the guy stops, right, from making his runs. And he stops and asks this gentleman, he says, excuse me, sir, why is the dog crying? And the gentleman says, because he's sitting in a nail. So the runner tells the guy, well, how come he doesn't get up and move out of the nail, right? And he tells him, because it doesn't hurt bad enough. So the moral of the story is sometimes the debt is that nail that we're sitting on.
Yeah, that's right.
And it hurts, but it doesn't hurt bad enough. So my encouragement to you tonight is don't get numb to the pain. We talked about faith. We talked about God is good. So trust His strength, trust His love, trust all the things that are possible within Him to get up from that nail. Because if you get acquainted and numb with that pain, your next generation will too. They will believe that the car payment is normal. They will believe that the credit card is normal. And you're going to normalize that for your next generations. And we really don't want to do that. The Bible is very clear. We are the lenders and not the borrowers.
Right.
And I get it. It takes time. But don't get numb on the pain. Okay? Because that's why we're here. We're here saying, hey, man, let's go. Let's do this together, right? Like, get up. We don't want you there just suffering and in pain, right? And enduring that. Like, come on. Let's join arms. Let's move forward, right? We're going to help you get out of debt. We're going to help you. We taught you how to build up a savings, right? I taught you how to do a dynamic budget. Tell your money what to do instead of wondering where it went. Give every dollar a purpose. And next week, there is people who contact me all the time because we've been teaching this class for nearly 10 years at the church. And they say, man, but I already did the saving, the budgeting, and all that. I'm like, well, great. Then you got to come next week, right? Because next week we're going to talk about investing. Because remember, As long as you have debt, interest is working against you. When you start building savings, and the next step is investing, have money work for you. Right? I told you when we did the budget, I showed you the pie chart, right? Of all the percentages of how much needs to go to housing and food. You remember that, right? You're with me? And I told you, look, we're all at different journeys, right? So you gotta trust God where you're at. If you're just trying to, I think one of the best decisions you probably agree with is that you made is living on one income, right? My wife and I, we've been doing that. That was a key, right? Granted, not everybody can do that, but look for ways. I really believe that what God put in here in our brain, like the creativity, you know, it's powerful. If you say, if you think about this way, this is how your brain operates. If you say, Jacob, you are crazy, we cannot live on one income, will your brain be motivated to go and think about figuring out how to do it? No, because you pretty much are already shut off the computer, right? Like, you're like, oh, I'll shut it down, go put it to sleep.
Yeah, but if you didn't have a choice, you'd find a way to make it work, though.
Yes. So, and I give you a clear example. If you had to buy a vaccine for your son or daughter or family member that you love the most, and it costed $1 million, and you had 1 year to do it, could you figure it out?
Yeah.
I believe you could.
Yeah.
He's shaking his hand. He's like, no, that family member, no. But truth be told, if we are creative enough, loving enough, fun enough, like, could we become resourceful? 100%. So it's just finding that within you. That's why, to me, it's so important. Practicing gratitude, right? Being grateful for what I have while I go for everything I want, right? And I believe that you just work yourself in that mindset of saying, God, the Bible says that all things are possible with you. So who am I to say no? Who am I to say it can't be done? Right? And then again, you get numb to that mindset, and that's what you pass down to your children. Of saying, why are you attempting to do that business? You're crazy. Just go get a job. Right? And it becomes a mindset. So, I hope you all can join me next week. Again, we're probably not going to have childcare, kids ministry, but it's okay. Like, just, I would prefer that you're in person here, because I know if you're at home on the computer, on the phone, you got a million distractions, million alerts. They're like, so I want you to be here, be present, enjoy the class, and thank you all that you asked questions today. It means a lot. And thank you, Derek and Tanisha, for really bringing on that powerful teaching about how to live debt free. Let's give him a hand. Come on. And let's see. If you haven't joined the Money Wise group on Facebook, join it. If you haven't joined the DFW Job Support group on Facebook, if you know somebody that's looking for a job, send them there. Staffing agencies are posting jobs there all the time. And homework, take a picture of this. Don't cheat. Do your homework. Start planning your Debt Snowball plan. Again, Derek and Tanisha gave you that really nice sheet. Pray about it and decide. Are we going to go Debt Snowball or Avalanche? Decide it. I would say Snowball all day, only because those quick wins feel like good, you know, and so much about success in money, it's really just mental, you know. So get some wins under your belt. Find ways to save. That was one of the classes that we did. Follow through with that homework. Discover and develop your God-given talents. Derek talked about ways to make more money. Discover yourself. You know, don't go try to be like somebody out there. Like, discover within the gifts and talents that God gave you that are priceless. Let us know what tools and resources you need. Let us know. We're here to help you. and share your victories. Talk to your spouse or friends about your wins and your progress. Sounds good?
Sounds great.
And some of y'all beat me to the Q&A, and that's okay. But thank you all for coming out tonight. I do have a couple of giveaways. So, who wears an extra large T-shirt? Nobody? You? This young man right here? Well, you get the limited edition. Money wise.
Yes, sir.
Give me a hand clap, come on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then there was somebody. Who didn't? Because you gave some giveaways. Who hasn't won a giveaway tonight? You back there? Here you go. Giveaway for you. Let's give her a hand clap. Take your husband to Chick-fil-A on a date. And then I have a book for you, sister. Let's give her a hand clap. Come on. Well, thank you, everyone. It was very nice to be with you today. And see you next week.